there's certain things, and trust me, when like things like the negotiating committees going on with NASCAR, and I'm saying things publicly on those negotiations or whatever it might be. There's many times where Curtis will say, "I don't control Denny."
Yeah.
He I think in a way he's saying that I'm not telling him to go say anything, but I ain't stopping him either. Right. So there's some important things that we need to get settled, and we need to have better on the team ownership side. So, he just kind of lets me go with that. Now, there's been times where I've pushed the edge a little bit with NASCAR, with the team, and, giving away a little bit too much information here and there. But I feel like, it's a line that you do learn how to walk. And there are times where I do pull back in the sense of like, this boat ain't worth rocking right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just, you have to do it. You have to do it live, right? You can't edit, what you say when you're commentating a race, right? It's coming, and it's coming now. I at least have an opportunity to, when I do record, I've got a little window of about 5 hours to tell them to put something in or take something out. Mm-hmm. And so very rarely have we edited stuff out. We've pretty much kept it pretty raw.
So I've been contacted in the past and recently by some team owners about how they could use our platform to tell the ownership side of the story, right? So would it be fair for fans to think that maybe the podcast is a nice piece in your arsenal in terms?
I would love to have Curtis come on. Yeah. And there's been times where he's been so frustrated, he says,
let's do it.
I want to come on.
Record now.
Yeah.
Then 5 hours later, he's like, take it all out.
Yeah, exactly right. So, those who don't know, Curtis Polk has been Michael Jordan's manager for, decades and decades. So I do think that there's an opportunity there, right, to continue to grow it. I would love to see continued growth into year 2, and I think just brainstorming with you guys on figuring out how to do that.
Yeah,
right?
Do you guys pay attention to viewership numbers, things like that? Do you?
Yes and no. I mean, not religiously.
Yeah.
No. I couldn't even tell you kind of how we stack up with other NASCAR podcasts or motorsports podcasts, but it seems like it's pretty good.
Yeah. Nah, in the motorsports world, you're doing awesome. And it gets competitive when you start looking at the iTunes chart, charts and so forth. You can start getting, and it's odd, man. You'll have like 1 week where you thought it was just a normal basic show, and it just does really well. Some of the stuff that, so that's another thing too with podcasting. And I want to know if you feel the same way. I'll come in with a note, and I'm like, this is gonna be, they're gonna love this, and it's flat. It just people hear it, and there's no reaction, and then they're going bonkers over some shit I said that I didn't think meant nothing, right? Something I did at home or something in my everyday life, and so it's hard to know what people want to hear because you'll think, man, these things will kill. This is going to be entertaining. They're going to love this. Oh man, we laughed our ass off in here for 15 minutes. Don't care. And then there's something in the back half of the show that we didn't even think was a big deal that they just loved.
I mean, I think that one thing that I'm entertaining is, and I maybe want to hear your opinion is like, should I have more guests? I just worry about my interviewing skills.
It can't get better if you don't try.
I know. I had William Byron on. That was fun. The Joe one, my mom. Those were I thought those were all really, really good, but I didn't think I did much in there. I just kind of let them go.
So my favorite, I think Dan Patrick's one of the best in the business, right, to interview. And if you listen to him, his questions are super short. Why'd you do that? What was that for? How come? I mean, he forces the person to have to tell everything, right?
Yeah.
And so, one of the biggest mistakes that they'll tell you when you get into broadcasting is and interviewing is don't put the answer in your question, right? And so don't try to steer somebody toward what you're trying to get out of them. And because you basically give them the answer and they can just go, yep, that's right. And so, but when you're with somebody that you know, like your mother or your friends or another driver, it's just a conversation at that point. And I think everybody really enjoyed it. The guests that I think you should have guests when it makes sense. And I think they should be, he's going to have that person on there. That they should be like, some guy like you got to get Chase on there one day. You and him had the run in, right? When I had, run-ins with people and I'd bring them into the show, I mean, of course, I waited a while. I'm not going to have them on the next week. But a year or 2 or 3 years later, people want to hear us hash that out and hear us tell our versions right there in the same room. They love it. So I think, and you've had a long enough career where you've got plenty of drivers where you've had some misunderstandings with, to have them come on the show and especially
almost all of them pretty much.
Just about all of them.
Yeah, just about all of them. Yeah. I mean, one thing let
me ask you this: drivers intros, or when y'all are, when the drivers are together, does any of them ever y'all ever joke or laugh about being on? Like, hey man, y'all.
Not really.
Really?
No, not really. I mean, we'll talk at times. People will say, you're right bringing up this point. Like, we got to fix this or that or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, you tell them too. Yeah. People just hear from me.
Are you surprised too that they're listening to your show?
Am I surprised? No, because I mean, honestly,
drivers don't listen.
If one of my competitors had a podcast, I would listen.
You would?
Absolutely.
Golly.
Absolutely. Because I want to hear their perspective. Yeah. I genuinely care about what their perspective is and how did they see the race go down? Is it what I thought? I am
all right,
curious.
Let me ask you this. So you say you listen to Joey Logano's podcast. He does a little show, right?
Yeah.
So say you listen
to do I turn it on? No, but I do listen to the highlights of it.
You listen to the show and you strongly disagree with something he said. Are you going to go on your show and go, I heard Joey say this?
Absolutely. I did it all year. All year when drivers made certain comments on a show or through the media, I would expand upon it all year long.
Really?
I did that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, it's just an opinion. It's not all fact. It's just how I see things, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I was actually worried about too when it comes to actually asking, I fear rejection a little bit, is that is the PR team going to let them come on my show?
Oh, you think you're going to get your feelings hurt if they say no? You fear rejection? Denny Hamlin does not fear rejection.
Not in that kind of way. Not in that kind of way. What I'm saying is that, Hendrick Motorsports said no. They're worried I'm going to send you down a rabbit hole and get you in trouble.
What kind of way does Denny Hamlin fear rejection?
I thought
from the organizations, just from Rick Hendrick?
Which is why I'm surprised, William Byron.
Are you thinking, I want to ask the driver. The driver's probably fine, but his race team might say no because they think I'm going to get him in trouble.
Yes.
That.
Yeah.
Man.
I ain't worried about the drivers. I'm worried about their team.
Well, then I would just have
a bunch of stiff necks.
I know. That's what I would do. I'd go on my show and say, what a bunch of stiff necks. I asked them to come on. The team wouldn't let him. That'd burn them, man. They'd have to rethink their whole PR, right?
You're a good point. That's a good point.
We're not letting the drivers.
I know. This is good. We're working stuff out.
I mean, it might burn a bridge, but I don't know.
Dale, I don't think I'm really too concerned about that.
I know, yeah. All right. So, is there a guest that you would like to have on?
Chastain.
Pick one. Ross, right? And you've asked him.
I have not.
Well, you should.
I know. I will.
I mean, you and him communicate. Yeah. You got his number.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. What's the last thing y'all have texted about?
Oh man, the last time we texted there was clearly an incident.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought you and him were good.
I know, but that's how long it's been since we've texted. We've talked in person since then. We've just
like what?
Small talk,
Okay.
He's standing right there, I'm standing right there, and
did y'all ever
can't ignore each other. You got to just Hey, how's it going?
Yep.
How's it going? Yeah. Oh,
and so that's good. Now
how's your car? Car's good. Yeah.
And so that happens, and you're like, we're good. Okay. You walk away from that walk away from that going, I think we're good. I think in my mind we're good based off of what happens on the racetrack. Oh, the driving around each other's different.
Mm-hmm.